What's up, everyone? Thank you for coming to watch. I've got an update for you guys on this pretty big severe weather event that we've got unfolding across the Central Plains today. We've got three areas that we're going to be talking about. We've got three different sections of one big storm that's going to be delivering some flooding downpours and some severe weather, including damaging wind gusts. But to start out, you can see here on the radar, the most of the severe weather is definitely off to the southeast. You can see Tennessee, parts of western Tennessee and southeastern Missouri getting the brunt of seeing the brunt of all these storms. You could see that this large area in yellow and orange. This is all extremely heavy rainfall. Also, accompanied with damaging wind gusts and the components of severe weather. Now, off to the east of that, it's just a steady rainfall. Now, this is going to be continuing throughout the rest of the day for many, many areas. So, when you have a lot of rainfall falling throughout the day and it doesn't stop, that's when that flooding threat comes in. And there is a pretty high flooding threat today for you folks in the southeast. And these are your developing severe storms off in the central U.S. These are going to be producing some damaging wind gusts, some relatively large hail, and then you've also got some showers and thunderstorms across parts of Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, the mountainous regions of the western U.S. So that's going to be pretty much all that we're going to be talking about today. We also will talk about, what it's going to be, what everything's going to be looking like going ahead a little bit closer to fall. And then maybe at the end, we'll take a look at if there's going to be any activity in the tropics and kind of, what would the window of opportunity be. So we'll go over to our alerts. And you can see that right now you've got a excessive heat warning for a very, very large area of the south central U.S. You can see that a lot of northern Louisiana under the excessive heat warning, parts of northeastern Texas, including the DFW area, so Dallas, Fort Worth. If you're in that kind of area, you guys are under an excessive heat warning. Parts of the eastern extreme and eastern Oklahoma, and then also parts of southeastern Kansas. This goes into parts of southwestern Missouri, a lot of Arkansas. So if you're in the northwestern part of Arkansas, it is still very, very, very hot. I think that you guys could eventually be included in the excessive heat warning, but for now it's just the eastern, southern, and central parts of Arkansas. But once that storm passes and that moisture that brought down the temperatures will leave, that's when the heat will really get going again. And you guys, I'm sure, will be included in that excessive heat warning once again. You've got a flood watch for parts of eastern and central Missouri down into parts of southern Illinois, and then also parts of western Kentucky. So, watch out. Like I said earlier, watch out for some of these flooding downpours. And, we can already see that we have scattered flood warnings. We have many, many flood warnings through that, one, we've had flood warnings throughout this morning, but two, we already have some ongoing. And we have some flash flood warnings. You can see down here, snakes its way down in the Boot Heel, Missouri. You've got a long line of flash flooding that looks like it's stretching all the way from the southern Illinois and Missouri borderline down into the borderline of Kentucky, and then eventually northwestern Tennessee. So I think that everyone out here is going to have a chance in the southeast to see some at least minor flash flooding. I think the hotspot for flash flooding is definitely going to be in the Tennessee Valley, and then maybe a little bit closer down to parts of Alabama, northern Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and then eventually maybe even South Carolina and North Carolina. But, for the rest of you guys, you have that excessive heat warning for areas of Southern California and Southern Arizona. It's been up for months now. It's just super, super hot. It has not changed at all. And then you've also got a red flag warning for parts of Oregon and not quite Washington State, but parts of Western Oregon, or Eastern Oregon, sorry. You guys are included in that red flag warning. I know we do have a pretty big wildfire burning out here in this entire area. So you gotta really pay attention to what you're doing if you're going to be messing with any flame. Well, you should obviously never do that. But if you are messing with flammable material, you really want to limit the time that you have with that and make sure that it's like locked away, or if it's just somewhere that couldn't start a fire. But you've also got a heat advisory for parts of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. This pretty much this entire area. This is where your heat dome is. It's like starting over here. This is the worst of the heat dome right there. Then it gets weakened a lot over here, and then here you go, the biggest portion of your heat dome right here. So yeah, that's pretty much what it looks like at the moment, and that's going to be pretty much it for your alerts. So we're going to be moving on to our temperatures, and you can see that for now, this was this morning. Everyone's pretty much starting out in the 60s, the 70s for some of you if you're farther down south. But you could see all across the southern U.S. You can see that you're going to be in the 70s and 80s, waking up to some really nice temperatures out there. Across central U.S., same thing for you guys, 60s and 70s. That is what you want to feel. Also, for you guys across the eastern coastline, you'll be in the 70s. Maybe some of you could wake up to a whopping 80 degrees in the morning, but I doubt that anyone's going to see that. But we go up here in the northwestern U.S., it is chilly. It's downright chilly out here. I know it is the middle of the night, but look at this, 48 degrees. So that is, that's pretty good to see. We saw a lot of heat, pretty strong heat, and heat waves enter that area. So it's good to see the heat finally die down. But will it last is the question. And you can see that immediately everybody heats up, especially the southern U.S. This is your heat dome right here, and then northwestern U.S. You guys will still. You're going to be in the 70s and 80s, but it's not going to be nearly as hot as it used to be like a week ago. It was in the 90s. Some of you even hit 100 degrees. Then we got some scattered pockets of cold air. This is where you have your moisture bringing down those temperatures. Look at this, all the way into the 60s, almost 50 degrees out here in Virginia, West Virginia. So it's looking a little bit like it's getting a little bit of a fall tease out here for parts of the southeast, parts of the northwest, mountainous regions of the northwest. You can see down here in southeastern Idaho, you're in the 50s right here, 40s right here in western Wyoming. So this is where you could really use a sweatshirt or jacket. I don't know if you want to wear a jacket out there, but it's gonna stay for the rest of the day, especially across western Wyoming. You can see you're still in the 50s, 49 up here. We go to the southern U.S. This is where your heat dome is. 107 for DFW. For the rest of Texas, you'll be in the upper 90s. If you're a little bit closer to like El Paso and New Mexico borderline, you'll probably be in the lower to mid 90s. Some of you could get all the way back into the 80s, which would be good. But it's looking like most of you are going to stay in the 90s. The rest of you guys in Texas, central, northern, and eastern Texas, all are going to be in the hundreds. You could see anywhere from 99 to 108 degrees out here across Texas. We go up to Oklahoma. This is where pretty much the second worst heat's going to be today. You can see that the panhandle of Oklahoma, you'll be right around 100 degrees, maybe some tiny, tiny pockets of cooler air. Right here, you can see a splash of 89 degrees. Then you get in the hundreds, 107, 103, 104. It's still very, very hot out there. I know it's uncomfortable, and it's really not going away. It's really, at this point, we're probably just gonna have to wait until fall arrives for this heat to finally leave and exit the central U.S. because it's just been like this for days and all summer, and so you'd think that if it's been this bad all summer, then the only explanation is that this is gonna leave when we get very, very close to fall. But we could also see the heat dome shift a little bit closer to the east, and now the southeast could be in the heat dome. That could be a possibility, but we still have to continue watching just where this thing is going to be, where the heat's going to be going. But we go back over to the northeastern U.S. You can see we're in the 80s for most of you guys. If you're closer up to the border of Canada, you'll be all the way. You could get all the way down into the 60s. Maybe some of you could get all the way down to 59, 58 degrees. But it's going to be a pretty nice day for you guys. It's going to be in the 70s and 80s for most of you. North Central U.S. It's looking like it's going to be the 80s and 70s for most of you. Some of you could get over 90 degrees. I would say if you're in South Dakota, northeastern South Dakota, parts of northern Dakota, and then also parts of central and southern Minnesota, that's where you guys could hit 90 degrees. Maybe some other areas, scattered areas, could hit 90 degrees, but mainly you'll stay in the mid to upper 80s. And then the southwestern U.S., it's pretty self-explanatory. You can see that you guys are really getting the heat bad at the moment. We go to 8 p.m. where it's the hottest part of the day. You can see 109. It's still extremely hot out here, and I'm telling you guys, it's just not changing. It's getting, maybe a few degrees cooler than it was a week ago, but it is still brutally hot out there, and there's dangerous heat. There's no doubt about that. So we're going to be moving on to the NAM3CAM model for, I believe this is the north central U.S. We're just going to be looking at where these storms are going to be and what the timing is going to be for these storms, because we definitely have that severe weather event today with that enhanced risk across parts of Kansas. And we look at what we've got right now. We've got around 9 a.m. You got some storms entering parts of southern Illinois. Now, these have been strong. These have been the severe storms that we've been talking about. The flooding downpours are a little bit closer to the east. So there's two sections of the storm. They're not connected completely. There's one right here farther west. This is the one that's producing severe weather. I think that these storms down here in southern Illinois look a little dangerous to me. These look pretty bad. These look like these could be dropping some pretty intensely large hailstones and some very, very strong damaging wind gusts. So that's definitely going to be an issue throughout today. And then you've got these not damaging, but you've got these flooding downpours across parts of the Tennessee Valley, parts of the Ohio Valley, kind of in between. But that's going to be the round of storms that's going to be moving through this morning. That's going to finally fizzle out once we get to like 4, 5, 6 p.m. This 4, 5, 6 p.m. time frame. And then we also go up to the west where we have developing thunderstorms across parts of southern Nebraska. Now, these don't look that bad at the moment, but they're going to get stronger and they're going to get bigger. And then there's going to be even more action off to the west, which will be the main deal for today. So we continue off to 10 a.m. It's still storming like crazy out here in western Kentucky, southern Illinois, and parts of extreme southeastern Kansas. And then these storms weaken slightly, and then these will go off to the east, accompanied with some scattered showers and thunderstorms that will impact parts of the northeast. So that's when that rain starts approaching the northeast. Then we go back over to where we have the main threat of the day for severe weather off to the west. This is 9 p.m. tonight. So we're finally seeing some more storms get a little bit closer to this region up here in southern and central Nebraska, and we see two lines of storms. We see one up here battling some high pressure around it, but we have a line of storms that's going to be stretching all the way from northeastern Wyoming down into parts of southwestern South Dakota, into parts of western Nebraska, and then eventually parts of Colorado. That's going to be something that you're going to have to pay attention to. These are going to be damaging wind gust producers. There's no doubt about it. Just the characteristics and the looks of these storms show me that they're going to be damaging wind gusts because they're continuing on with the squall line of damaging wind gusts for so many hours. That tells me that we're going to see some big deal wind gusts out there. Then it gets a little bit weakened. It kind of gets spread out a little bit because there's some high pressure and some ridging that's bothering it. But it definitely will continue on producing So the severe weather components. I don't think we're going to see any tornadoes, but this is where we have. That's why we have that enhanced risk. This storm right here, this 1 hour. This is the middle of the night, exactly in the middle of the night, 1 a.m. tomorrow. This is what's driving that enhanced risk. You've got a very, very well-defined damaging wind gust line here, stretching all the way from southern Nebraska down into parts of northwestern Kansas, across the border of Colorado. That's going to be that. This is what's driving that enhanced risk. But you can see it's battling. It's so strong that it's this is the strongest point of it, and it's still battling that high pressure. And that high pressure is pretty strong. 1,020 millibars is pretty strong. High pressure, not doing anything to this storm. It's continuing to push through Kansas. This is going to be knocking out power. This is going to be toppling trees. It's going to be a very, very wild night if you're in northwestern Kansas. That's why you've got to be ready for this, because this is going to be pretty bad. I'm telling you guys right now. You got to be ready for this. This is going to continue all the way to 7 p.m. and it's finally going to start. It's finally going to end around 7. And back down here into parts of Missouri, you've got more storm action. Once you get into the morning hours of tomorrow, more storm action popping up here. Maybe some more leftover convection in the atmosphere. Pretty much anywhere around this region, there's definitely a possibility to see a pop up shower or thunderstorm. But we could get through tomorrow afternoon, and the rest of the storms are going to be up here in the Dakotas. But these don't look that bad to me. So we're going to be moving on to the southeast now, just to see what you guys are going to get from this, as we've already looked at the north central plains. And you can see that these are the flooding downpours I was talking about. You can see they're finally entering the Carolinas, mostly North Carolina, South Carolina. You guys are getting hit by this too. But look how we continue all the way throughout the day. We start out 9 a.m. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You're at 13 hours and it's still raining. So you're going to get 13 plus hours of rain. It's going to be heavy rainfall for most of the majority of the day. This kind of storm looks like a storm that's going to be producing at least minor flooding out here, flash flooding for sure. And then maybe a couple of severe storms could ride through the northern portions of Georgia, maybe even hit the Atlanta area. But these look severe to me because you got a very slight but small damaging wind gust line. Then behind it, you've got some supercells that are going to be trying to get going, and this continues all the way into 6 a.m. This would be 6 a.m. tomorrow. We're still seeing that storm action, but it's and look at this. It's even still raining in North Carolina, South Carolina. So, we'll probably see, we're getting here. It's already 24 hours, over 24 hours of rainfall straight for you guys in the Carolinas. Maybe a small break in between the hours, but, it's going to be raining like cats and dogs for a very long time, which is not good in terms of seeing flash flooding and stuff. Then you get another long, thin line of damaging wind gusts that's eventually going to form up. It's gonna after this low pressure area and rainstorm that's gonna move out of the southeast. You automatically abruptly get this just long thin line of damaging wind gusts, and this goes all the way from 2 to 5, 6 p.m. Tomorrow afternoon, and then eventually just fizzles out as you get into the overnight hours of tomorrow night. So we're going to be looking at our SPC. These are severe weather percentages, or chances, I should say. For that enhanced risk, you've got a very, very large area. This was actually upgraded. Last time this was a very small area, but this actually has been upgraded, now including all of northwestern Kansas, some parts of extreme eastern Colorado, areas just east of the Rockies. So I would say, a few miles east of Denver, you guys will be in that enhanced risk for today. Parts of southwestern Nebraska, you guys are in that, including McCook or NeCook, I don't know. I think it's McCook, Nebraska. But look at this. Colby, Kansas, right in the smack dab in the middle of this enhanced risk. So, if you're anywhere near McCook or Colby, Kansas, or just this entire area, if you're near Denver, or if you're near Garden City here in Kansas, or if you're uh, near Pueblo, Colorado, just anywhere on this map included in the slight, marginal, or enhanced risk, got to watch out for some of these storms. But I am very concerned about you guys in northwestern Kansas. I'm telling you guys, it's not going to be fun tonight. And I think for roughly 4 to 5, maybe even 6 hours, there's going to be a storm that's going to be strong enough to definitely topple trees, maybe even power poles. It's going to be that strong. So, this could get to the point where we could even see high wind watches and warnings. That would be a different story. That would be pretty bad. I would say if we saw, we go to the 30% risk for the wind. This is the wind threat. You got a 30% risk with a hedge risk. That tells you that up next, if this was upgraded, if the wind threat for this was upgraded, you could only go to 45% risk. You can't just have the 30% risk and then issue a hatched risk. The next level up for this wind threat is going to be the 45% risk, and that's when we really might have to turn on outbreak mode for not a huge area, but this will be a very, very bad storm. And I think if we were to be upgraded to a 45% risk for wind, I think we would definitely see a moderate risk pop up on the SBC. But for now, we have an enhanced risk, and it's for this area of northwestern Kansas, parts of southern Nebraska, and parts of eastern Colorado. Tornado threat for today, 2%. I'm just gonna say it now. We're not gonna see a tornado today, which is we're very, very lucky for that. And there's that wind threat again. You got 30% risk, including a hatched risk that will be including all of that 30% risk. But look at this. It's get extended all the way into central Kansas. So when you see that at hatch risk, escape the 30% risk and spread a little bit further off to the east into central Kansas, that tells you that everyone, forecasters at the Storm Prediction Center, they have a little bit more faith in seeing the storm carry on and then move on into areas of maybe eastern and then central Kansas. So we also do have a 15% risk and a 5% risk of damaging wind gusts for areas of upstate New York, and then parts of the interior Northeast, and then also parts of the Southeast. You can see parts of southern Tennessee, parts of northern Alabama, and northwestern Georgia. So that hail threat, it's 15% risk, a little bit farther off to the west. So I would say you guys in northwestern Kansas still have a chance to see some relatively large hail, but I think, obviously it's, based off the Storm Prediction Center, that the largest hail threat is going to be off to the west for today. We go to tomorrow's outlook. And I would say tomorrow would be the day to see severe weather in the southeast. So we'll take a look at that. You can see you only got a marginal risk, so it's not looking that bad. But you got a slight risk for the parts of the northeast. You can see you got a marginal risk for parts of PA, parts of northern New Jersey, parts of Connecticut. This is very tight. Connecticut, not quite Rhode Island, but you've got Connecticut, Massachusetts, parts of southern Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York, and then you've also got that slight risk right in the middle of that of northeastern PA, parts of central and southern New York State, just south of the Finger Lakes region, parts of southern Vermont, and then also parts of extreme western Massachusetts. That's for tomorrow. Tomorrow's tornado threat, we won't see any tornadoes tomorrow. Tomorrow's wind threat, 15% risk for that same area of the slight risk, and then a 5% risk for damaging wind gusts tomorrow for that same area of the marginal risk. And then the hail threat, 5% risk, although you do have a pretty big 15% risk of hail up here in uh, the Northeast. So you got to watch out for those storms in the Northeast. Even though you usually don't see that much severe weather in the Northeast, don't underestimate these storms. These could definitely be severe. I think we will. Some of you guys could definitely see a strong to severe storm in the Northeast. So we're going to be moving on to our 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. I just want to show you guys this map just because we are going back to the a little bit a little bit more like this looks a little bit more like the normal summer pattern for temperatures. I know it's been very very hot for all around the country, but I just want to show you guys this because I'm not only saying it because I want you guys to relax about these temperatures, but also it's actually happening. We're seeing below average temperatures out here in a huge area of the northern U.S. So it's very very good to see this. Now, what that tells you is that without these cold fronts moving up down from Canada, we would have temperatures all across this region in the hundreds every single day. But luckily, we have a 60 to 70% chance of seeing below average temperatures throughout this time frame and this time period. But look at this entire area, all the way from central Montana down into the central U.S., up into the Ohio Valley. This entire area is in below average temperatures. That is a very very good sign. Okay, now we go to the Northeast, and this area in gray, the very very precise central U.S. You guys are in a near normal average temperature kind of range, so that's pretty good. That's what we want to see for the entire U.S. Although for areas that have been seeing the worst of the heat, we want you guys to be back down all the way into below average temperatures, just so you guys can get a break from the heat. But you go back and you go into the Delmarva area, parts of southern New England, you're back into that above average temperature zone, and then obviously you got that heat dome that's getting scrunched south just because you've got some very, very strong and I wouldn't say intense, but they're strong cold fronts that have been really cooling everybody down in the northern and central U.S., which is a very good sign. And that's what's going to be scrunching this heat dome down all the way, to the southern and central areas of the United States, which would be, in southern and central Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and then Florida, the area that in the U.S. that gets the most southern area of the United States. And for the last part of the update, we're just going to be looking briefly at the tropics right now. I just want to show you guys this map to show you guys where we could have a window of opportunity to see some tropical development, because we're very very close. We're nearing that time in the hurricane season where we have a very very big spike of tropical development, and we just got to figure out if we're so close to that point where we can actually see it on the GFS. So on this map, if you don't know already, the blues and the greens, this is humid and moist air. These are favorable conditions for development. Now, when you have this brown and gray air, this is brown and gray. This is very very dry and dusty air. So, starting off right where we are right now, this is Invest 97L, I believe, or might be 96L. This has been trying to get going for days. It has been multiple times. It was very, very close to developing, but it has not developed, and it looks like it's definitely not going to develop. And this will it will enter some very moist air, but can see it's around it. There's some ridging out here, very very strong ridging, just to the east of it, and then you've also got some dry dusty air that's just going to be bothering it too much. Then you got a tropical wave down here that looks pretty good. It's got some relatively dusty and dry air off to the north of it, keeping it down south. It's the number of low pressure is still dropping. So I would say if we see, you can see that we don't see any dry dusty air enter this region of uh, just off the coast of Western Africa, we could have a multiple day we could have a very, very small window of time to get development. And we see this tropical wave emerge off the coast of Africa, gets below 1,010 millibars. So it maybe will earn a name. So don't be surprised if you see another X, marking a chance for development off the coast of Africa issued by the National Hurricane Center. So, maybe as soon as tomorrow. I really do think that this storm has a shot, just because you can see all the way, right in front of it. You still got some more moist air in front of it, waiting for it. And even if it were to cross through the Lesser Antilles Islands, it would have to battle through this wind shear, some weak wind shear. You can see it's not looking very strong, but it would also have to battle through some dry air. But they're scattered around there. There is some more moist air, so there's definitely some areas in the Atlantic that are favorable for development. But we see where this thing goes, and it decides to try and move north. Then it gets stopped by this area of dry air, and then it's just gonna fizzle out, and it's not really gonna do anything. And then we get another tropical wave. Look at this, a surge of moisture off the coast of Africa. Now this is gonna really try and ramp up as fast as it can, because if it can, it'll probably have a track like this. You can see. I just want to show you guys, point out that most of we've learned just by looking at this. This is only 162 hours out. Just by looking at this model, this GFS model run, you can see that the driest air is definitely going to be off the coast of northwestern Africa. But if you're farther south, like really far south, like right in this small area, this small line, you can sneak. Yeah, a storm system or a tropical wave can sneak its way through, and if it gets to this point, it can eventually avoid and battle through some of this drier air, and eventually maybe get to here. We could see a track something like that. I'm just throwing out ideas, but I think that's definitely a possibility. As it could definitely battle through some dry air, but it's not like the entire Atlantic is dry. There are some areas with tons of moisture, but there is some areas like up here in the eastern Atlantic with a lot of dry and dusty air. But we continue to look at what this tropical wave will do. We're getting into August 10th, so this is like second week of August, and we don't see a low pressure center develop here, but there we go, right here we got a low pressure signature just popped up right here. You can see right here, and then it runs into this area of drier air, just because it's going to be oozing its way farther south. But if any storm were to make its way past this dry air and get to this point right here, I'll circle it here, by like August 13th. I would say if there's a storm system out here by August 13th, right in this little area here, I think this could definitely become the first major hurricane, because you see no signs of any dry air that would enter this region. These are where the warmest waters are in the entire Atlantic. This is where we have very, 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 very saturated, very, very like moist air in this entire region, and it's not just moist; it's very moist, and it's just right in the way of the storm. So the storm is able to soak it up. I think that I think I'm gonna make a time frame for you guys right now. I would say August 10th to August 15th is where we could see a storm develop here. And look at this right here. Look at this right here. Right in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, we do get a storm. We do get a storm right here in the Gulf of Mexico. This would probably, at this point, I mean, it's so far out that we can't say that we're gonna get a storm automatically. But one sign, though, is that we do get a storm here in that exact time frame. So let's go back to track the entire thing, right of the system. So it's gonna be It's probably going to be, it's going to be that one tropical wave right here. Here's that tropical wave I was talking about where we saw a lot of moisture. Here it is. This is where we go all the way back to right now. So this is actually the storm that we just saw that could form in the Gulf of Mexico is actually a tropical wave that just emerged off the coast of Africa a few days ago. And so we'll go to where we are right now, and this is it right now. We are at this point right here, and let's continue watching it. So it's trying to go farther north, and it gets hit by that very, very dry Saharan dust. And then it's almost completely done. You can see that there's a very, very tiny pocket of moist air. Just, it's almost completely surrounded by the Saharan dust and that region. But look at this. It keeps going, and then it finally enters this area where there's there's moist air, there's a little bit less wind shear, and there's also very, very warm sea surface temperatures. Now that's favorable. Those are favorable conditions for tropical development. And then here we go. It almost gets all the way back to almost gets another low pressure storm here, and here it does. And at this point, this would probably be a tropical storm. And here you go, 991 millibar low pressure center, 979. This is where this could definitely become a hurricane. So we got to watch the system. And let's see where it would go. It does make a landfall. And look at this, 952 millibar low pressure center. I'm not saying that I'm expecting this to become at this strong, but I'm saying just a 952 millibar low pressure storm would probably be equivalent to a Category 3 to Category 4 hurricane. That's not good. That is not something that we're looking forward to, but it's something that we're going to have to track throughout the rest of this week and into next week. But it will, based on this run of the GFS, it's looking like it could take an aim at parts of southern Texas and then maybe parts of eastern Mexico. But then that's going to be pretty much it for the model run. Then we get another tropical wave out here and some more moist air. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for coming to watch, and we'll see you guys in the next video. So watch out for some of these storms in northwestern Kansas. They are going to pack a punch, and they're going to be very, very intense. So you got to watch out for those storms. And we'll also obviously continue watching the tropics very closely, as we do have some pretty good signs of some development. And we'll also see if we will get a break in the extreme heat across parts of the United States. So thanks so much for coming to watch, and we'll see you guys next video.